griots primarily recount Mali's history through dramatized narratives. The written word holds a secondary place in their historiography.
For the people of Mali, who have their own written script of Mandinka, they are able to continuously engage in the irreplaceable power of oral literature, as well as be sure that their own words are continuing to be carefully preserved in a secondary medium, in written literature. The Mandinka of Mali are an example of the power of being able to record and spread your own story through literature's various mediums, oral and written. Oral literature is a highly complex science and art form, and therefore relegated to very few is the daunting and heavy task of preserving, creating, and sharing this form of literature. To aid in literature's cultural roles of conservation and education, written literature plays a major role, especially when it comes to general accessibility. Most, if not all, languages are oral in origin and nature. The translation of them into written words, most of the time, has historically ended up borrowing from an already widely distributed, sometimes imperialist alphabet to adapt to their language into writing. We've seen the Roman alphabet, who borrowed from their former conquerors the Etruscan alphabet, become a widely used transcriber medium. The Arabic-based Ajami script and Chinese characters all being borrowed to write other languages across the globe. But like a pair of pants that was custom made for someone else, it's never going to fit quite right, is it? So, there is a gap in the learning curve that forces people to accept the lack of accuracy. It leaves some with frustration and some with confusion, trying to interpret and insinuate from one phoneme to the next, leading some to simply adopt the imperial language as the main language in the end, for ease of mobilization and communication. But that isn't always the case. By now, you have probably heard of King Sejong the Great of Korea in 1443, who created Hangul, the script still in use today in both North and South Korea. Or maybe you have read an article or two about the two Fulbe or Fulani brothers, Abdoulaye and Ibrahim Maberi, from Guinea, and their creation during their young childhood in the 1990s, Adlam, the script for the widely used Fulfulde or Fula language, also known simply as Fulani or Pular. The acronym Adlam meaning the alphabet that will prevent a people from being lost. An example of their very fear presents itself with ancient Irish, where the written evidence of its existence is preserved, but it's said that no one is absolutely sure how it sounds. This is because as cultures mesh and people move and pass on, language is something that moves with them. However long it takes, language changes within the times and the places it is used. As Ireland changed, so did Irish, and the amount of people able to speak or understand the old language dwindled away until there was no one who could pass on this invaluable knowledge. The only saving grace of this piece of history is the written word left behind. The silver lining is that anthropologists and linguists and other professionals can manage to use their learning and studies to make educated guesses of how the phonetics might have sounded, thereby able to tentatively unlock a gateway into an ancient people's lifestyles and livelihoods. These well-known stories are examples of why literature matters. Both oral and the written word matters. Communication, accessibility, preservation, and retention are at the core. And with a custom writing system, the unique sounds of a language's phonemes are accommodated, creating a more robust and thorough vehicle for delivering or preserving the intended messages. Even English may seem lacking because English borrows its alphabet from the Roman alphabet. And while English does have Latin roots, it borrows many words from its origins' regional neighbors as well. English is a drifter that has convinced itself that it has always been written like this. English does not actually have its own custom alphabet, something that can lend itself phonetically to the specific phonemes used in regular English language or dialectic English language. Words are often spelled in convoluted ways, most likely to accommodate the lack of actual phonemic representation. Next time, in part 2 of The Case for an Alphabet, the sinister side of written literature and a king clinging to his culture amidst colonization.